anonymous agent told The Athletic that it's actually LeBron James who recruits players for agent Rich Paul in Clutch Sports. The agent also said that a large number of players recruited by LeBron on behalf of Paul have been mismanaged. Another anonymous agent praising LeBron for the way he's helped set up Paul and Maverick Carter, as well as for the public stance that he takes on issues. Stephen A., what's your reaction to these anonymous comments that are being made about not only LeBron James, but Rich Paul?
I think it's jealousy. I think it's people crying over spilt milk. And, you know, Max and I talked about it, and there's nothing new here. We both agree with this for the most part, Max. Listen, here's the deal. If laws are being broken and rules are being violated, that's a conversation that I'm willing to listen to. When you're doing the same thing others do or have tried to do, you're just doing it better, I don't want to hear a damn word. That's really my mentality about this. As somebody who knows Rich Paul, who has spoken to him on many occasions, one of the things I never hesitate to highlight is how bright this young brother is. Yes, he's friends with LeBron James. Yes, LeBron James has a lot to do with the initial success for him, Maverick Carter, Randy Mims, who's LeBron's right-hand guy and just does everything for LeBron. Let's be very, very clear. The Adam Middletons of the world and others who have come into LeBron James' life and do an extraordinary job of elevating while protecting his brand, they're all to be commended. But I can't say enough about Rich Paul and Maverick Carter. You speak to anyone in corporate America that has had to deal with Maverick Carter, they talk about the brilliance of this dude. He's just smart as hell. He's a visionary. He's a giver as well. He's highly intelligent. But if you talk to Rich Paul about the NBA and being a part of the NBA and being an agent, this brother doesn't miss anything. Now, you can debate, and I've had agents debate about who did the better contract, that if they had this client, they would have got him a better number. They would have got him more guaranteed dollars and all of that stuff. You know, listen, they were saying that when David Falk, who's a phenomenal agent, had Michael Jordan and Alonzo Mourning and Patrick Ewing and stuff like that. They said it when he had it. I remember when Bill Strickland was an agent representing the Rasheed Wallace of the world and others back in the 80s and 90s. Bill Strickland was an outstanding agent. The late Henry Thomas, God rest his wonderful soul, represented Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. He was a phenomenal agent. Bill Duffy has been a star as an agent for many years. Aaron Goodwin, Eric Goodwin. These are elite agents that know what the hell they're doing. That doesn't mean anybody can sit up there and look at Rich Paul and take away from what he's been doing. Right? Rich Paul, LeBron James, one of the great things he's done, Max, and I'll hand it over to you after I say this. LeBron James didn't give to his friends. He set a path for them to make their own way so they could earn their stripes and therefore earn the right to represent him, knowing what they're doing, cultivating resources, networking, gaining and elevating the level of knowledge, astuteness, shrewdness, et cetera, and now they're pretty freaking elite at what they do. LeBron James deserves credit for giving his brothers the opportunity to do those things, but they deserve more credit for taking the bull by the horn and mastering their craft the way that they have. There are a few elite agents, and I'm going to always give love to the brothers in the agency business because nobody else does. So I'm going to do it. And I mentioned a few of them, the Duffys, the Goodwin brothers, and all of them. I mean, listen, and boy, do I miss Henry Thomas. But I'm here to tell you something right now. Rich Paul is special. He's a special talent at what he does because he works on it every single day. And he deserves credit where credit is due, not criticism or cynicism from those who wish they were in his position.
So the mismanagement part you think is just someone hating on him? It has really no validity.
Okay. Without question.
I think you can analyze how many clients or which ones have been managed well or not as well and rank Rich Paul, if you're another agent, where you would like compared to whomever else. But I want to get to what Stephen A. is talking about. I think it was Lou Weiss, or one of these legendary agents in the business, with the following quote. I don't remember, so let me. He was asked, when was the first time you realized you had a conflict of interest? And he said, the moment I signed my second client. Right? Like, this is the nature of the business. So David Falk has MJ. Rob Pelinka had Kobe. Rich Paul has LeBron, and vice versa. MJ had Falk, and Kobe had Pelinka, and LeBron has Rich Paul. Because really, those agents work for the players, I just said. The power brokers in the NBA since Jordan have been Michael Jordan, Rob Pelinka, and now Rich Paul, right? And Maverick Carter. And those are the players are the ones calling the shots. The biggest, most powerful, best player in the game, who's usually an extremely marketable wing who wins lots of championships, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, runs the league. And of course they recruit they want their agent to amass power. And the way their agent amasses power is by recruiting and signing other players. Now, on the pecking order of that agent's priorities, who do you think is on top? Duh. It's Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant for Pelinka, LeBron James for Rich Paul. Of course, it's their biggest client. It's the biggest piece of business. All agents are conflicted. This is the nature of the business. The best ones have a lot of pieces on the chessboard, and they figure out moves where even if every move doesn't always benefit every client, sometimes a client gets a little bit screwed, they're with that agent because they feel that a rising tide lifts all boats, and that it's not about every tactical maneuver either helping or hurting them. It's about, in the long run, strategically being with this agent helps them. This is the nature of the business, and agents who are now complaining about Rich Paul are crying. Every agent wants the most powerful guy to be in Rich Paul's position. They're crying that he has him.
They're not just crying because of that position, and this is no knock against Rich Paul. Let's just also understand, if you remember, the NCAA tried to institute some rule over a year ago, and we ultimately called it the Rich Paul rule because they basically tried to make it so you were required to have a 4-year bachelor's degree before you could represent, players and stuff like that. And Rich Paul went ballistic and wrote an op-ed, shredded that stuff because they realized how racist it was, the NCAA. I'm talking about to do such a thing, to require, that this guy has a 4-year degree of college education. I have no doubt that there were agents behind the scene that were pushing for that in hopes that it would compromise somebody like a Rich Paul, because but understand why. Their whole thinking is that if we had to go through this, why shouldn't he? What have I said about Hall of Famers all the time who complain about the modern day athlete? Stephen A., don't let them off the hook. You wouldn't have let us off the hook. We had to meet certain standards in order to receive love and support. Don't sit up there and make it easier for folks. So you have those people that look at Rich Paul that way. It doesn't make them right. But it's not as simple as, I'm just hating on them.
Question. How much of this do you think, because it's unknowable to me, but I'm curious, has to do with the fact that we are talking about an African-American super agent right now, LeBron James's guy.
Yes.
Versus, I mentioned Falk and Pelinka. Pelinka flew more under the radar, but those were the most powerful guys because they had the most powerful client.
I'll tell you mistakes that I think the Rich Pauls of the world and other agents of African-American descent make is they assume it's other African-Americans talking about them. It's a lot of those white agents that talk about them too. And they talk about it behind the scenes to people they're comfortable with, who they've ingratiated themselves with in the media and beyond, and vice versa. And as a result, they talk amongst themselves, and then ultimately that trickles down to other folks, and you thinking it's black on black crime per se, where it's black agents just talking about Rich Paul. I'm not saying that there are not some who haven't in the past, but trust you me, they ain't the only ones. You got a lot of people on very high levels that try to get at the Rich Pauls of the world. Here's the difference. Rich Paul, first of all, he probably, I don't even know how old he is, but he looks like he's a teenager for crying out loud. He looks like a kid, but he's smart as hell, okay? And he knows what he's doing. But here's the other thing. And in that regard, I mean this. Maverick Carter, do you ever meet this guy? When is he not smiling? When does he not look like this inviting figure that can ingratiate himself with anything or anyone at any given moment? I have been, I've been in this business for 25 years, and I obviously do a lot of things other than just this. I cannot walk into any industry. I have not, in my career, have walked in any industry in America that has had dealings with Maverick Carter and they don't talk about how much they love him. He's one of those guys where he's almost impossible to dislike.
Well, let me ask you something.
Compare, what I'm saying is, because they're both tight with LeBron, obviously, sometimes they're comparing him because